Instead of fulfilling the promises to match tariff rates and other trade barriers from other countries, President Trump's administration mostly used current trade balances to compute its raft of new levies. The U.S. Trade Representative released a statement outlining the rationale behind the tariffs that shocked the world. The team used U.S. Census Bureau data from 2024 to illustrate a formula that divides a country's trade surplus with the U.S. by its total exports. In fact, the discounted rate was then calculated by dividing that by 2. For example, China's total exports to the U.S. were $438 billion last year, yielding a trade surplus of $295 billion, or 68% of total exports. The result was a tariff rate of 34% when divided by 2 using the method. Rates for other economies, such as those of the EU, South Korea, Japan, were calculated using the same formula. The US imposed a uniform 10% import tariff on all countries, even those with balanced trade. The Trump team claimed it was theoretically feasible to determine tariff rates for real trade barriers. The statement showed that this approach would help Trump accomplish his objective of reducing trade deficits. Before Trump's announcement, the methodology for determining the tariffs was mostly unclear to make matters more complicated, and Trump's stated rates were somewhat different from the ones in the annex of his annexure of his executive order. For example, South Korea, Trump's board read 25%, and the annex showed 26%. And with us on the broadcast this minute is Mohan Guruswamy, former advisor to the Indian Finance Minister, live from Hyderabad. Thanks very much for being here. Let me begin by asking you, what, according to you, is the impact that you see from Trump's 26% tariff on India?
Well, the impact is that there will be a contraction of exports from India to the United States. Very simple. For instance, one of our biggest exports is frozen shrimp. Now, frozen shrimp attracts a tariff of 27%. That will bound to contract because the price will be passed on to the consumers. The producer already is operating at almost zero margin. So you'll find this down the line. So markets will contract, our exports will contract. Mercifully for India, our international trade, our exports, are a smaller part of our GDP than, say, the United States or China. China imports almost 14% of its GDP. The United States imports 15% of its GDP. So they export also huge amounts are exported, and it will affect their economy even more.
Right, and which particular sectors do you see an impact on, essentially?
We'll have problems with food stuffs, which we export. Then we have automobile components, which is a large export. Small machine tools, which we export. These sectors will get hit badly. Garments will get hit. All this, they're not big ticket items, but they don't have high margins either. So they will be hit badly. So you'll have contraction in the Indian economy. Already manufacturing is slow and small relatively, and that will get even further squeezed.
Right, and according to you, will the higher tariffs on India's neighbors give a boost to demand for Indian goods?
Demand for where? Everybody will be contracting. The United States is 25% of the world GDP. And the United States is going to go into a tumble, as it certainly will, because there will be huge inflation, because this tariff means an inflation in the American markets. The United States will contract. When they contract, we will contract. All of us will contract. So global foreign trade will contract. As a result, we might enter into a global recession.
All right, we're leaving it there for the moment. Thanks very much for being here.
Okay.